I think passion for cars was basically from the day I was born, because there are photos of me as a little kid, always with a car in my hand. So I think it's something that I was really born with, and it's been something that's been with me as far as I can remember. And then growing up in a family that also had a passion for cars. So my father always had nice cars, and two of my uncles actually in Hong Kong used to race competitively. So cars were always kind of there around, and obviously something that I've pursued all my life. So I've always been into racing, into driving, into cars. Well, the silver, and it's called Silver Bullets, actually started a long time ago. It was when I was first went to boarding school, and my father had a Dino, which he came to visit me in. And at the end of the year, one of my friends wrote in my yearbook, I'd love to have a ride in your dad's Silver Bullet one day. So the Silver Bullet thing, it's been around for, I don't want to say exactly how many years, but it's been quite a while. So I've always had this thing about silver Ferraris. I actually then discovered that Ferrari used to, when they presented a new car, actually presented them in silver, because Enzo Ferrari thought that silver showed the lines, the contours of the cars best. Although Ferrari, of course, is very much known for red. Everybody thinks about the red Ferrari because of the Formula One team. And then with the red came in through the first two cars that I actually then bought, which was the E-Type and the Gullwing. So that kind of laid the ground for having the red. And the red arrow thing is a little bit, because if you look at a Gullwing, with the doors open, it really looks like it's about to take off. And the other cars that are red are all open top, or at least Targa and open top, which also gives you the kind of feeling of about to take off, or as if you're almost driving and flying at the same time. So that's how that came about through my childhood, and then through the fact that I started to collect silver Ferraris, and then the red ones came along. So it was like, well, red arrows and silver bullets sounds like quite a good theme to build around. I guess growing up in my era, 60s, 70s, 80s, I'm really drawn to that time, and I think cars in those days, before a lot of the safety regulations came in, aesthetically at least, I think one of the most attractive periods for car designers. If you look at the Ferraris, there's a designer who worked for Pininfarina, Leonardo Fioraventi, and quite a few of the cars were penned by him. So obviously the aesthetics are something that I'm first drawn to, and then being somebody who loves driving, the feel of driving one of these cars that requires a lot of care, a lot of attention, and also gives you a lot of feedback, and is really visceral. Is something that so I've really been drawn to that that era of 60s, 70s, and 80s. The exception being the Gullwing, which is 1954, 55, but it's such an icon that the first time I drove one, I just thought, this is unbelievable that this car that was introduced in the mid-50s had that level of performance. And people often say it's probably the first ever supercar that was produced, and I think that this year it celebrates its 70th anniversary, and when people look at it, it still amazes by just the beauty of it, but also how advanced it was for its day in terms of its mechanics. And I've always loved the Boxer. And they're pretty rare, and particularly the first series, because they only made 387 of them. So they're fairly rare to come by, but one just popped up in an auction, and I put in my bid and managed to get it. And that's part of the fun of putting a collection together. It's taken me almost 20 years to put the whole collection together. they all have little stories. I mean, the gull wing and the E-type, for example, I actually brought to Hong Kong when a friend of mine launched an event here called the Gold Coast Motor Festival. So it's great to see that, Hong Kong is also, there are a lot of collectors here in Hong Kong, also creating this community and hosting events for people to be able to enjoy and discover these cars. So that was good to be able to bring them here and show them. And actually, the E-Type beat the gull wing by 1 point to win its class, which was kind of unexpected, but that was kind of fun. The E-Type was quite a long search as well, because there are, again, many of them out there. But when I learned a little bit more about the E-Type, the one that I wanted was a 4.2, early 4.2. At the time, they wouldn't be called Series 1 because when they first came out, there wasn't yet a Series 2. So somebody recently corrected me to say that Series 1 doesn't actually exist, it's the original. It took quite a bit of time, over 2 years, to find one. Somebody put me in touch with somebody from the Jaguar Owners Club who was very helpful and managed to find one, but it did take about 2 years before I managed to locate one. And I have to say, it's really lived up to its expectation. It's such a wonderful car, the E-Type. I think, even Enzo Ferrari was quoted as saying it's the most beautiful car ever made. And I'd have to say, I tend to agree. The one that has kind of an interesting story is the 355 Spider. I have a thing for 355s because I've raced 355s. I think they're wonderful cars, and always wanted a Spider. Came across one on a website, silver, not black, blue. But the interesting thing is that it had gold calipers, which is quite unusual. And there's actually a one-off Testarossa convertible that was made for Gianni Agnelli, which has the exact same specifications. So there was some speculation that maybe this 355 Spider was actually his, or was spec'd for him. We've never been able to substantiate that, but yeah, it'd be great if one day it turns out that that was actually the case. Nowadays, a lot of cars, are automatic. It's very difficult to find a manual car. Although it's interesting that some of the manufacturers, like Porsche, continuing with manual cars. So obviously, it's a lot more engaging. I mean, there's a lot more work on the driver to be able to basically drive these cars, and things like some of them don't have ABS. So you have to, the connection, I would say, between the driver and the car is, much more symbiotic, because, you have to really feel, or try and at least feel, everything that the car is doing. And there's a whole, ritual in terms of, how to start the engine properly, warm up the gearbox, warm up the engine. Not having any electronic aids means that, you as the driver are really fully in control. But some of these cars are extremely powerful and require a lot of respect as well. So you have to kind of know what the limits are of yourself and of the car. But when you find a perfect piece of road, and the car is really kind of humming, and really sort of driving along, you just get this incredible feeling of being it's almost like a sense of freedom, I guess.